I've heard people call it the most perfect street in the entire world. I've heard people call it the most perfect street in the entire world. Clean lawns, white fences, kids on bikes. You know, it's the kind of place where bad things don't happen, so they thought. Everyone in Elm Ridge loved Willow Lane. Clean lawns, white fences, kids on bikes. It was the kind of place where bad things didn't happen, or so they thought. There was a house at the very end of that street, though. House number 17, where a quiet man lived. Quiet. Dr. Adrian Bell. Therapist. Widower. Listener. People trusted him. They told him their secrets. They cried in his office. They called him brilliant, even healing. But behind his bookshelf was a door. Not the kind of door you'd expect to find behind a bookshelf. This was heavy. This was soundproof. This was windowless. It was also dead silent. Inside was a room nobody knew existed. No light, no windows, just a lock. And when the lock was picked, inside the room was something truly horrible. Journals, jars, tools that didn't belong in any therapist's office. It started with a missing girl, then another. Then a college dropout who vanished after a therapy session. Police asked questions. Dr. Bell smiled, offered them tea, and walked free. Then came Emma Green. She noticed the scratches on the floor, the smell, the eyes that didn't blink. So she told someone. The police came back, and what they found, they couldn't believe. Hell, that's all I could think of when I read this story. What the hell is going on here? Let's get into it. I found this story by an author whose name I will not mention because I quint pronounce it. Okay, maybe if I do a little research, I can figure out how to pronounce your name. There we go. Shout out to my editors. Thank you for doing that. But this story was originally posted to a website. In the suburbs of a city in Oregon lived a quiet man named Adrian Bell. He was a therapist, but he had been widowed 6 years prior to the start of this story, and he missed having someone to talk to. So he listened. He listened to other people's problems, giving them advice, dispensing kindness, making them feel better. Some people said he was brilliant. Some people said he was healing. Adrian's house was at the end of a street called Willow Lane. It was the kind of street where nice things happened. Kids rode their bikes down the sidewalk. Couples sat on their porches. But there was something not quite right about Adrian's home. Something about it seemed off. Like the lawn was always too perfectly mowed, the windows to clean. But nobody really paid much attention. One day, a young woman named Sarah went to see Adrian. She suffered from anxiety, panic attacks. Her parents encouraged her to seek professional help. So here she was, sitting in Adrian's office, talking about her life. This is a good time to take a moment to talk about consent. While Adrian was listening to Sarah, he was taking notes. That's normal, right? It's important for therapists to keep detailed records of their sessions, so they remember their patients' lives, their struggles. But Adrian wasn't writing down anything Sarah said. He was writing down personal details about her, things he never discussed with her during their sessions. Like that her mother was overly critical, or that her father had an affair. Turns out that Adrian knew everything about Sarah before he ever met her. See, he had been watching her for weeks. He knew her favorite color was green. He knew she had a cat named Mittens. He knew that she skipped lunch every day at school. He knew things about her own diary. And he used all this information in their sessions together. At first, Sarah thought she was just misremembering things. Maybe she did tell him those things. But then she started noticing the look in his eye, the way he leaned in a little too close, the way he asked a little too many questions. After a while, she stopped seeing Adrian altogether. Months later, she saw a news report about a missing girl. The cops didn't have many details, but they did say that the girl had been a patient of Dr. Bell. Suddenly, Sarah remembered why she stopped seeing him. He had been creepy. She had felt uncomfortable. Now she realized it wasn't her imagination. When Sarah called the police with her suspicions, they investigated and found something horrible. In the basement of Dr. Bell's house were 14 jars. Each jar was labeled with a name, and each jar contained a body part, fingers, spines, a face, still frozen in fear. They also found a final message on his desk, written in red ink. Curing the mind requires breaking it first. On the day the police found these things, they also found Adrian's abandoned car near a river. They searched the water but never found a body. Never found Adrian Bell again either. But at night, sometimes the people on Willow Lane heard things scraping beneath the floorboards, breathing behind the walls. Sometimes, just sometimes, the door to House 17 clicked open. So this story makes me wonder if this is like a cautionary tale about keeping secrets. Because let's be honest, everybody has secrets. Everybody has things in their past they try not to remember, things they try not to think about. If you're dealing with a lot of trauma, it might be hard to trust people. It might be hard to trust yourself. So you keep these things bottled up inside you. But there is something powerful about talking about these things, talking about trauma. Reliving it in some sense can actually be incredibly cathartic. But you have to do that with the right person. You have to be able to trust that person. Otherwise, it could make things worse. I'm not saying this is a situation that should be taken lightly. Talking about trauma should always be approached with care. But this story just makes me think of how important it is to be careful about who you trust. Because some people are very good at pretending. Let's be honest. How many times have you met somebody and instantly felt like they were lying to you? Instinctively, we all have ways of detecting bullshit. We all know how to pick up on lies, whether it's the way somebody looks you in the eye or the way they answer your questions. But we can't always explain it. Sometimes we just know. And clearly Sarah had this instinct, this feeling that something was wrong with Dr. Bell. But she tried to ignore it. She tried to tell herself that she was just misremembering things.
The reason this story freaked me out so much is because I love the suburban setting. I grew up in the suburbs. My mom still lives in the suburbs. I visit her often, and I love the quiet. I love the trees. I love the normalcy of it.
But what if there was something insidious lurking beneath the surface? What if the normalcy was just an illusion? That's what scares me. It's not the monsters under the bed or the shadows in the closet. It's the normalcy that freaks me out. The idea that things can seem fine on the outside, but be absolutely horrible on the inside. That's terrifying. If you want to hear more stories like this one, let me know. Also, if you're interested in learning more about online safety, I recently interviewed a cybersecurity expert. We talked about what data brokers are, why you should care about them, and what you can do to protect yourself. Data brokers are companies that collect personal information. They gather things like your name, your address, your phone number, your social security number, and they sell this information to other companies. These companies can use your information in a lot of different ways, like for marketing, but also for more nefarious reasons. Scammers, hackers, stalkers, all kinds of creeps can use this information to target you. Luckily, there are things you can do to protect yourself. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow if you haven't already. I'll see you next week.